The top story this morning, Gauteng Judge President Dunstan and Mlambo going to be interviewed for the Chief Justice position today. He follows Supreme Court of Appeal President Mandisa Maya. The only female nominee told the interviewing panel yesterday that South Africa is more than ready for a woman Chief Justice. Heidi Giokos covering that for us now once again for today. Hello Heidi, let's recap what Justice Mandisa Maya had to say. Getting very annoyed, it looked like, the part that I saw, even emotional about how everyone kept asking if SA is ready for a female Chief Justice, almost hinting at the point of why are we still asking these kind of questions?
Exactly that, Gareth. I think Justice Mandisa Maya made it very clear to everybody in the room and to South Africans that the wrong question is being asked here. The question shouldn't be, is South Africa ready for another Chief Justice? The question should be, are women given the same and equal opportunities as men are given? And are men asked this question, is South Africa ready for a male Chief Justice? Justice Mandisa Maya saying that she is a good woman judge and she should not be looked at differently just because she's a female. Many questions, also the majority of the questions posed to her, had some kind of elements of her gender and whether or not she is going to be capable and how there needs to be gender equality. At one point she actually got quite emotional and she needed a moment because one of the commissioners, Commissioner Sylvia Lucas, saying to her that South Africans are very proud of her as she's the only female to be in the top 4 to be interviewed for Chief Justice. And she got emotional about it. I think throughout the day she had constantly been asked whether South Africa is ready for female justice. And she had made it very clear that she should be considered and interviewed on the basis of her skills, qualifications, and capabilities, not because people should feel sorry for her or consider her more than a male just because she's a female. So her testimony, or rather her interview, was very powerful to say that women should be given equal opportunity and not be looked at differently just because they are female. So let's listen to some of that interaction from Justice Mandisa Maya.
It is our kids, the generation that has been able to go to model schools and private, fancy private schools, that have been able to compete neck and neck with the other races. And black children have proven themselves there that they, black people are as equally gifted as other races. But we are not going to wait for that generation to rise to institute transformation. We have to do it today, yesterday actually. I'm sorry, I got a bit emotional there. So get women into the judiciary, and when they get into the judiciary, give them the same opportunities as their male counterparts, who, by the way, are not better intellectually endowed than those women. Now, linked, let me calm myself down, Chair. This upsets me.
Well, of course, anyone watching can also go and see a lot more of that on eNCA.com, Heidi, in case they've missed any of the interviews. We're live streaming it there as well, of course. The Justice also talking about how the judiciary is not in crisis.
Yes, and this was something that Justice Madlanga was also asked due to the recent attacks on the judiciary by the Minister of Tourism, and that opinion piece that she wrote that many said was an attack on the judiciary, and perhaps this is some kind of reflection of the state of our judiciary system. But Justice Mandisa Maya saying that's not the case. The judiciary is not in crisis. Yes, there might be many challenges. Yes, there might be things that need to be urgently addressed, such as how quickly judgments are delivered, how long the courts take to actually deal with cases, how the judiciary system is not easily accessible to all, especially those that don't have the means to access the judiciary, those in rural areas. And another significant point, Gareth, that I must add that Justice Mandisa Maya was commended on yesterday during her interview process was how she was the judge in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, or last year, that wrote a judgment in eNCA, and many are saying that that is a significant point in our judiciary system, to say that you can write judgments in other languages to preserve culture, to preserve languages and mother tongues of other individuals. And even though it's so much easier to just write judgments in English, we must consider that sometimes that is not even accessible to people because people won't understand the jargon. So, of course, all these matters touched on, but I think the most important out of some of what she touched on yesterday was that she believes, and being the judge president of the Supreme Court of Appeal, the second largest court in this country, saying that our judiciary is not in crisis, but there are challenges that need to be urgently addressed. Let's listen to some of that.
And let me say this, the judiciary is not in crisis, as some have lamented. Yes, it is not perfect, but there is still a relatively, maybe not even relatively, there's still an efficient system of administration in place. But there's a lot of work to be done, Chair, to get the institution working optimally to execute its constitutional mandate.
All right, Heidi, let's leave it with this one then. We're looking ahead to Judge President Dunstan Mlambo expected to be interviewed today. Why exactly are so many people saying we're expecting fireworks?
Well, Gareth, I think we're just going to have to wait and see what happens at 9 o'clock today. But many are expecting there to be some kind of tension, very difficult questions for Judge President Dunstan Mlambo. And there's speculation, Gareth, that this might be the preferred candidate for President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of course, we do know that while this Judicial Service Commission will make recommendations to the President and compile a report as to how these interviews went for the Chief Justice from all candidates, the President ultimately can make the decision and will make the decision. Of course, he will consider what has been presented to him by these interviews and by the Judicial Service Commission. But many are saying that they're a little worried because they've been hearing that it is the preferred candidate from the President. But it's going to be interesting to see the kinds of questions that are posed to Judge President Dunstan Mlambo, especially from Commissioner Julius Malema, Dalian Pofu, and a number of the other commissioners, because we do know that political parties do sit in this Judicial Service Commission. So it will be interesting to hear and see how all of that unfolds. Of course, it's a very robust process, very interactive, grilling process. It's the Chief Justice of the highest court in the land. Of course, questions need to be posed to him. Very difficult questions are posed to the Chief Justice. It's a very important role. It's a very important process that is unfolding. As many have been saying, that the judiciary is under attack. So we need to make sure that the right person is in the right place, and especially if you are the Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court. So I just urge everyone to watch at 9 o'clock and see what kind of fireworks come out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're going to make any time at all to watch eNCA.com today, it's going to be as a result of those Chief Justice interviews. Heidi summing it up perfectly. One of the most important job interviews that you'll ever have a chance to watch live on television. We're back to Heidi again later, as she says, those interviews getting underway again from 9 o'clock this morning.